There is a job vacancy at the very heart of English cricket right now, and it might just be the most sought after, most terrifying, most impossible to fill role in world sport. Ben Stokes has retired. The throne is empty. And somewhere in the Surrey dressing room, a 28-year-old all-rounder with a cheeky grin and a point to prove has just quietly, calmly put his hand up and said, "Pick me." Sam Curran wants the Stokes job. Not the captaincy, not yet anyway, but the role, the seam bowling, game-changing, all-rounder role that Ben Stokes made his own for a decade and that England now have absolutely no idea how to replace. And if you think that sounds like a simple story, think again, because this is a tale with a teenage prodigy benched for the second match running, a test opener suddenly frozen out of the one-day picture, a rising star handed the golden top order ticket, and an entire national cricket team trying to figure out how you replace a man who was never really replaceable in the first place. Let's start with Curran, because his words to BBC Sport this week were as revealing as they were carefully, deliberately underplayed. Ask the blunt question, would you welcome the call to step into Ben Stokes' role? Curran didn't dodge it, didn't deflect it with some rehearsed line about focusing on the process. He said, in essence, yes, of course, who wouldn't? Playing for England is amazing, and I'm a competitive guy, he said, and you can practically hear the hunger in those words. This is a man who has spent the last few years watching from the white ball sidelines of Test cricket, doing his job in coloured clothing while the 5-day format moved on without him. His last Test appearance came all the way back in 2021. Think about that for a second. 2021. Boris Johnson was still Prime Minister. The world was still emerging from lockdowns. That is how long Sam Curran has been waiting patiently in the wings of the Test arena, doing the unglamorous work in white ball cricket, staying sharp, staying ready, staying visible, because somewhere in the back of his mind, he must have known that one day a door might creak open again. And now, thanks to the seismic, sudden, still slightly surreal news of Stokes' international retirement. That door hasn't just creaked open, it's been blown clean off its hinges. But here's the twist, and it's a very Sam Curran kind of twist. Rather than shouting from the rooftops that he's the man for the job, rather than campaigning for it in the papers or lobbying selectors behind closed doors, Curran has taken the classic English cricketer's approach of studied, almost defiant calm. I just want to try to perform my best, he said, and whenever the time comes, they decide whoever is going to replace Stokesy. Notice that phrase, Stokesy, not the captain, not the great all-rounder. Stokesy, the nickname alone tells you everything about the shadow this man has cast over the England dressing room and the size of the boots that now, quite literally, need filling. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about finding someone who can bowl a bit and bat a bit. This is about finding a seam bowling all-rounder capable of balancing an entire Test team, a role so specific, so demanding, so utterly dependent on doing two jobs brilliantly at once that when Stokes wasn't even available for a single match earlier this year, sidelined awkwardly enough. After an incident in a London nightclub before the second Test against New Zealand, England didn't even try to replace him like for like. Instead, they were forced into an entirely different shape altogether. An extra specialist batter bolted in, leg-spinning finger spinner Shoaib Bashir dropped from the sheer entirely, and 4 frontline seamers wheeled out instead. It worked, after a fashion, but it also exposed, in blinding, unavoidable clarity, exactly how badly England are going to miss their totemic all-rounder now that his Test career is over for good. Because a team without a genuine all-rounder is a team that has to make brutal compromises. Either you sacrifice a specialist batter or you sacrifice your 5th bowling option, or in England's case, very possibly your spinner. The very man who might prove crucial against slower turning surfaces later down the road. This is where Curran comes storming back into the conversation, because on paper, he is about as close to a like-for-like Stokes replacement as English cricket currently possesses. Left arm seam, capable of genuine pace and swing when the conditions suit him, and a bat good enough to have won England white ball silverware almost single-handedly on his day. He is not Ben Stokes. Nobody is Ben Stokes. That's rather the entire point of this story. But he is, right now, arguably the best option England have got if they want their attack to look anything like balanced. And crucially, he knows it. He's not naive about the speculation swirling around him. It's something you have to always deal with, he admitted, acknowledging the hype that inevitably surrounds any conversation involving the words replace and Stokes in the same sentence. But in the same breath, Curran was quick to play down any suggestion he's putting undue weight on his own shoulders. There is a lot of noise on Stokesy retiring, he said, but I don't really want to put too much pressure on myself. Whatever happens over the next few weeks, my main thing is to try to contribute and win games for England, and what will be, will be. It's a wonderfully English response, isn't it? Stiff upper lip, understated ambition, and just the faintest hint of destiny lurking underneath the modesty. But Curran isn't the only name in this conversation. And this is where England's selection puzzle gets genuinely fascinating. Because the alternative to a seam bowling all-rounder is a spin bowling all-rounder. And England happen to have not one but two exciting young candidates knocking loudly on that particular door. Rehan Ahmed has already been included in England's squads for all three tests against New Zealand this summer, gaining valuable exposure to the setup, even if regular game time in the sea has been harder to come by. And then, in news that dropped almost as a footnote, but which could prove hugely significant down the line, uncapped all-rounder James Coles was handed his first ever call-up to the England one-day squad this week. Think about the symbolism of that timing. Barely days after Stokes' retirement sends shockwaves through the dressing room, a brand new face with genuine all-round credentials gets the nod. Coincidence? Perhaps selectors reading the tea leaves and hedging their bets for the future? Almost certainly. And Coles hasn't stopped there either, because on the back of his maiden T20 squad inclusion, he has now also been added to the group preparing for the 3 ODIs against India later this month. That's 2 white ball call-ups in the space of what feels like a fortnight for a player most casual fans had barely heard of a month ago. If you're the betting type, you might want to keep a very close eye on the name James Coles, because England appear to be grooming him for something bigger than just squad depth. Now, here's where the story takes an unexpectedly ruthless turn, because for every player climbing the ladder in this reshuffle, there's another player watching it slip away beneath their feet. Step forward Zach Crawley, the test opener who was part of England's squad for their most recent OD series out in Sri Lanka back in January. Crawley has now lost his spot in the 50 over setup entirely, squeezed out after the man occupying the opening role in the test side, yes, we're talking about the very same top of the order, has also taken his opportunity elsewhere. The knock-on effects of a single retirement really do ripple through an entire squad structure in ways that can catch even established internationals cold. And speaking of top-order shake-ups, brace yourselves for arguably the most eye-catching subplot in this entire saga. Jacob Bethell, fresh off delivering an absolute masterclass of a match-winning innings in the T20 series against India, is now expected to be promoted to open the batting alongside Ben Duckett. Think about that elevation for a moment. This is a 22-year-old who has gone from uncertain fringe player to genuine first-choice opener in what feels like the blink of an eye, riding the momentum of some jaw-dropping recent form and the chaos of a leadership vacuum that has forced England to reshuffle almost every part of their batting order. If Bethell nails that opening slot, England may have stumbled almost by accident through the sheer force of circumstance into unearthing one of the most exciting young top-order batters world cricket has seen in years. But let's not forget the story that has in truth been quietly bubbling away in the background of all this English soul-searching, because over in the Indian camp, there's a teenage sensation whose continued omission is becoming almost as newsworthy as anything happening on the field. Vaibhav Sooryavanshi, the 15-year-old batting prodigy who has already broken Sachin Tendulkar's long-standing age record for representing India, remains firmly on the sidelines heading into the second T20 international at Old Trafford. India's bowling coach Morning Morkel didn't exactly slam the door shut on a debut, He called Sooryavanshi a young man knocking on the door and admitted it was exciting, but the language was unmistakably cautious, protective, almost apologetic. India, he explained, already have the world's #1 T20 batter in Abhishek Sharma and the player of the tournament from their World Cup triumph in Sanju Samson. As a coaching staff, Morkel said, it's only fair to show faith and back your players. Translation, as thrilling as this 15-year-old wonder kid might be, India's management aren't quite ready to throw him to the wolves against a fired-up England attack just yet, not while their established stars are delivering the goods. So what we have, when you step back and look at the full picture, is an extraordinary snapshot of two cricketing nations wrestling with the eternal tension between hype and caution, between the electric thrill of untested young talent and the steady reassurance of proven performers. England, thrust into crisis by Stokes' sudden departure, are being forced to gamble. Throwing Bethell into the top order, fast-tracking Coles into white ball squads, dangling the seam bowling all-rounders crown in front of Curran, and hoping some combination of youthful daring and calm nerve gets them through the next few months in one piece. India, by contrast, sit on perhaps the most exciting teenage batting talent the sport has produced in a generation and are choosing, for now at least, to keep the lid firmly screwed on, trusting their senior professionals to get the job done first. And whichever way you look at it, all roads lead back to the same unavoidable elephant in the dressing room, Ben Stokes. His retirement has not just left a gap in the batting order or a hole in the bowling attack. It has triggered an avalanche of consequences rippling through England's entire squad structure, forcing selectors into decisions they never wanted to make on a timeline they never chose. Curran now finds himself the frontrunner for arguably the most important role in the England setup, despite not playing a test match in half a decade. A teenager who was barely known outside county cricket circles a year ago is suddenly being fast-tracked into international squads, and an opener who played international cricket as recently as January now finds himself frozen out entirely. This is what happens when a genuine, once-in-a-generation talent decides to walk away. The shockwaves don't stop at the empty seat in the dressing room. They spread outward through every department of the team, reshaping careers, accelerating some, ending others, and leaving the rest of us glued to our screens, trying to work out exactly how this remarkable, balanced, thrillingly unpredictable new-look England side is going to cope when Pakistan roll into town this August. Will Curran get the nod as the seam bowling all-rounder England so desperately crave? Will Rehan Ahmed or the fast-rising James Coles force their way into contention with the ball and the bat instead? Can Jacob Bethell really nail down an opening slot at the very top of the order, having barely been considered there before? And just how long can India realistically resist the temptation of unleashing their teenage phenomenon on the biggest stage of all? One thing is for certain, English cricket has entered one of the most fascinating, unpredictable, downright chaotic periods in recent memory. And every single squad announcement between now and that Pakistan series is going to be must-watch, must-debate viewing. So here's what I want to know from you lot down in the comments. Is Sam Curran really the man to fill Ben Stokes' boots? Or is England's search for a genuine all-rounder replacement doomed from the start? Should Bethell be trusted with the opener's role long-term, or is this just a short-term fix born out of chaos? And how much longer can India realistically keep Vaibhav Sooryavanshi waiting in the wings? Get your predictions in below, because I guarantee you this debate is only just getting started. If you enjoyed this breakdown of England's post-Stokes selection headache, do me a favour and smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and if you haven't already, subscribe to Boundary Line UK and hit that notification bell so you never miss a single twist in this incredible unfolding story. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one.